But I had wanted to talk a little bit more about the whole concept of manifest versus unmanifest. The whole notion, in the Buddhist teaching, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. And there's this understanding that the divine is, Brahman is, limitless love is unmanifest. It's just pure being, no form, beyond form. And this whole universe that we experience, including our bodies and our minds, our voices, our computers that are letting us, quote unquote, talk to one another, right? They're all part of the manifest universe. And of course, the world of form. So how does form arise out of formlessness? Well, that's the great question, the great conundrum. And in Kali Ki, we talk about it. Well, there's limitless love, and then there's the force, the energy of that love. And we could even say, there's in the Sanskrit terms, there's the Purusha, pure spirit, and then there's the Prakriti, nature. And nature is actually the gunas, those properties, those energetic properties of the one. So it all comes back to, right? There's the manifest and there's the unmanifest. There's the formless and there's the form. And they're ultimately one because one comes out of the other. But then that makes it sound like something is first, that the unmanifest is first. It's the chicken, and then there's the egg. But the age-old question is, is that so? Or was it the egg first? Or is there no first and second? And the great teachings of yoga speak about the Brahman, the absolute, as one without a second. So we're taught all over the place. There's the unmanifest divine, God, right? And then there's manifest being. And we hear this again and again and again. But as the theme of our retreat was, right, it was oneness, meaning that there is no difference, or they're two sides of one coin. But you see, if you have a coin and it has two sides, you still have a thing, you still have an object. And the manifest is not an object. So how can it have another side? So this is when we get deeper into Advaita, non-dualism, which even in yoga is a rather esoteric philosophy, but it is the deepest understanding. And I say that, and then it's like, but there's no understanding to it, because there's no separate being to understand. There's no separate facility of mind to perceive and understand. Now, some would say, well, that's because mind and the manifest is all illusion. And then we scratch our heads again, right? Wait, the manifest is all illusion, the mind is all illusion. Well, how can that be? If it comes from the unmanifest, how can that be? Because if there's anything that feels real to me, right, it's the manifest. And it includes my mind, my feelings, my experiences in life. That's what feels most real to me. So when you try to tell me that that's illusion, I think, well, you're a little off there. And that's because I'm using this illusionary mind to analyze this. Wait a minute. wait a minute, my mind is illusionary? Well, let's just say that the mind, the human mind, the way that it perceives, as much as it thinks it's absolutely accurate, right? And that, it perceives this. Well, what we know, and thank God we now have physics to back that up, is what it is perceiving is not actually a solid substance. What is being perceived is the movement of energy, the love force, the prakriti, right? And what's perceiving it? Is this the absolute perceiving it? And some would say, well, yes, because the absolute within me is the Atman, it's the self, it's the witness. Okay? But then we take it a step further. And it's completely outside of perception. The Atman, the unmanifest, it doesn't have perceiving organisms. It doesn't see anything separate from itself. It doesn't see anything at all. It just is. But if it just is, that sounds like it's in opposition to what is not. Okay. And non-dualism takes this even further. That there is neither what is nor is not, or there is both what is and what is not. You see, it takes us beyond mind. Mind cannot fathom it, and that's our mistake, one of our mistakes. And we talked on Saturday morning of the retreat of the 3 errors, okay? The malas. The fact that we see differentiation, that we see different objects is a big error. The fact that I think I am something separate from all that is a big error. Oh my gosh, you say that. Right. Okay, so if that's true, why did I spend half the day chasing down a septic system fixer? So who was the I that was doing that? Maybe it was the Rajashree I. Or maybe that I does not exist in the way that I think it does, the way I perceive it does. And so the challenge, of course, and this was my challenge today, is to stay in a place, even while experiencing these various opposites, right? Oh, septic, not septic, call this guy, don't call that guy. But even while experience the apparent opposites, manifest, unmanifest, that we retain a certain sense, a certain bliss, not even knowing that we don't lose what we really are in our awareness, in our consciousness. We talked at the retreat about toggling back and forth, and we toggle back and forth until that awareness is ever present, always accessible. So I want to read a line to you from the Avadhuta Gita. In various ways, the Upanishads declare that the manifested space, earth, and so on, are like water in a mirage. Truly, Brahman alone exists equally in all. Being the self-same Brahman, O mind, why do you weep? There are many in this particular chapter of this particular Gita. That question is repeated so many times. Why do you weep? For lack of understanding. why do you weep for this experience of opposites, fire, rain, when you are that? When you are that which pervades it all. And that which pervades it all is also beyond the you that experiences it. Until there is a true oneness, which is not something that's experienced by the little self. It's not experienced by the little self, but it's ever present. So it's not experienced, it's not thought. And of course, our big mistake is here we're trying to think it all through. And that's why, you know, teachers talk in this kind of way. It's almost like talking as a koan, right? A riddle, a puzzle, to help you jump out of rational mind into pure being. And at that point, even the question of manifest, unmanifest has no relevance. Form or formless has no relevance. Even trying to think about it all or think about the none has no relevance. So I'm guessing that regardless, this has been a bit of a brain teaser, right? So I'm going to invite us all now to do some ohms with some silences. We talked a lot at the retreat about the gap between the sound, between the sounding, between the thoughts. And just see with your ohming and the silence, see what happens. But I guarantee it, if you ohm and then you get silent and you start thinking, am I in the gap? Am I in the gap? No. The gap is there, but are you in it? Well, you actually are in it, but are you aware of it? No. It gets snatched away from your awareness the minute you tell it to show up. But let's just see what happens. So let the eyes close. Let's take a couple of deep regulating breaths. You can ohm as loudly as you like. Please inhale. Oh.